afternoon, everybody, and welcome to another edition of the Sports Box, where the only opinion that matters, right here, baby, and we're back after a little hiatus after the LeBron mess and all this other stuff going on with hockey and things like that. We're back. I am Mike Aletta, aka Hamilton Mike, alongside with my partner Brian, the Ranger Atard, here to bring you another solid special about just stuff you love. So let's get going. Today we're going to talk about the Recchi Lindros into the Hall of Fame. Now, I hate to say it because he's been on the show for a little while and we get along very well, but I think my partner here is sprinkled with horse shit. But we're going to discuss that a little bit, talk about why I think Recchi Lindros belongs in the Hall of Fame. Now, Recchi Lindros, to me, solid player. I am a Flyers fan. I like to become an objective Flyers fan. I think he was on the cusp. If you look at his numbers, I mean, 372 goals, over 760 games, 493 assists, a lot of okay stats in there. They don't jump out at you as, oh man, this guy was phenomenal. But I think you look at Recchi Lindros as he changed the game a little bit for hockey, especially for the Flyers. Very valuable player for the Flyers, no doubt. Helped LeClaire out immensely. But I think when Recchi Lindros came into the league, he was the kind of player that was big, bulky, and just loved to bury people. And that was his style. It wasn't like the old-time hockey with Gretzky, Lemieux, and all those guys had enforcers, and they could actually play hockey and skate. Lindros came out and tried to do it all, and I think down the road that hurt him in injuries.
Well, again, I'm not going to hold his injuries against him. I mean, that's not in his control. I wouldn't do that.
Right.
But you call it what it is. I mean, very valuable Flyer.
Yep.
It's a sad story about what happened to him at the end of his career, but the man never hit 50 goals in a season. He had one Hart Trophy as the MVP. That was the lockout shortened season of 1995.
Only one. Some guys don't get Hart Trophies.
Well, that's that.
Hey,
but, I mean, you mentioned the numbers. I don't think the numbers are there. I get why, the people in this area are, they love the guy. He was their favorite player growing up. Listen, I get all that. I'm taking nothing away from what he did. He was a great, great player, but it's not the Hall of Very Good. There's a lot of other players, Dave Andreychuk, Alexander Mogilny had phenomenal numbers that have not gotten into the Hall of Fame. Never won a Stanley Cup, not his fault. It's a team sport. Frankly, if you go back to how he even got to Philadelphia, he babied his way out of Quebec, and then he babied his way out of Philadelphia to go to New York. I just don't. His teammates, a guy like Mark Recchi. Mark Recchi should be in the Hall of Fame.
Mark Recchi should absolutely be in the Hall of Fame. And the guy played 22 years.
Long time, all over the place.
The guy played. He won 3 cups. He was very valuable in Montreal, very valuable in Pittsburgh. I mean, the guy was a solid player. He didn't have the enormous stats like a lot of guys would, but he was solid the entire time. Then he went to Tampa Bay late in his career, played good for them, good role player.
Boston as well.
Right, and there's a guy, like I said, I don't know how he's not in the Hall. You want to put Recchi Lindros in the Hall of Fame, which I think is a good move, you got to put Mark Recchi in there. And then you want to get into other guys, Jeremy Roenick. How's Jeremy Roenick not in there, folks? He's probably the best American-born hockey player in the NHL without hands down. Hands down.
If you go back to Lindros, I mean, you mentioned some of his numbers.
Yeah.
Part of the allure, I guess, or what I've been told by a couple Flyers fans in the area is, oh, well, he's 19th career in points per game. Yeah, that's fine.
No.
But part of that's because, again, through no fault of his own,
right,
his career ended after his prime ended. He was 33 when he couldn't play anymore. Again, not his fault. So his 4 or 5 years after that, where he would not have been scoring at that clip,
yep,
he kind of gets taken out of context. It doesn't happen there. I mean, again, to me, again, he's the reason that the Core States, First Union, Wachovia, Wells Fargo Center even exists. I'm taking nothing away from him. He was a fantastic player, but again, to me, it's just not a Hall of Fame career. Maybe he benefits from maybe like a little bit of a weak class. I don't know.
I like to look at it as the Ken Griffey scenario, because Ken Griffey was a great person in Seattle and he decided to leave and go other places. The injury set in. Second half of his career, he did have a lot of injuries. If he was healthy, who knows what he would have done. Same kind of thing with Lindros. If he would have, I don't want to say back off of the hitting that he did, but if he didn't hit as much as he did and things to that effect, who knows? He could have went to Toronto, the Rangers, and still had a solid career. But I think near the end of the Flyers' career, and that's why he was out of there, is he started to tail off. He never was as solid as he was. Like Brian said, he never had a 50-goal season, but he had 47, was his best year with the Flyers. But he was so much more, I think, to the Flyers that was the reason why he was put in the Hall of Fame, because he was when he came into the league, Lindros, he was supposed to be the next Lindros or next Lemieux, Gretzky, which he wasn't. He was labeled something he wasn't. He was a very above-average player, but he played a different style that wasn't going to last as long as everybody thought it was. And that was, I think, the downfall with Lindros, is that. But I still think he belongs in the Hall of Fame.
As far as the Flyers Hall of Fame, Absolutely.
Yep.
The Hockey Hall of Fame, I have my doubts. The irony of that whole situation, if you think back to, again, how he got to Philadelphia and the trade that was made from Quebec to Philadelphia, and just the assets that the Flyers gave up, the first-round picks, Peter Forsberg, millions of dollars. Quebec parlayed that into a couple Stanley Cups after they moved to Colorado. Even the Rangers. I mean, if you go back and look at the package they were going to give up for Eric Lindros, which an arbiter ruled the Flyers were going to get him, those players helped the Rangers win in 1994. Really, the most successful teams are the ones that did not get Eric Lindros from that deal. Again, I'm not saying he's a bad player by any stretch. I think he's a great player. It's a very, very sad story. Who knows what he could have turned into? But you can't put the guy in the Hall based on what you think he would have done. He not got hurt.
I kind of agree with that to a point. I just think that Lindros with what he did for the team. And I tell you what, talk about a trade that jump-started both teams, like you said, Quebec. I mean, that was what they needed to get rolling. They got a goaltender in Hextall. Even midway through his career, I mean, he was a solid goaltender at the time. They got Hoffman, who wasn't a big defenseman, but he was okay. Mark Recchi turned out to be an okay player. Well, nothing great, but I mean, getting Forsberg, that put them over the hump when they went to Colorado. So, and then like Brian said, with Lindros coming to Philadelphia, that really got them over the hump, put people in the seats. Now, you want to flip it around too, and like we talked about before, Mark Recchi and Jeremy Roenick are not getting in, and Pat Quinn. Don't get me wrong, Pat Quinn, great choice to get in. I have no problem with Pat Quinn getting in. I think he deserves it. Very good. But Jeremy Roenick, here's a guy. You want to talk about longevity? 1,363 games, 513 goals. Again, doesn't jump out at you, but very good stats. 703 assists. That's nothing to sneeze at. Right, it's nothing to sneeze at. 703 assists. 1,463 penalty minutes. I know that doesn't mean anything, but that's a lot of penalty minutes for standing up for your guys. Here's a guy who, like I said, is probably the best North American player or American-born player in the NHL today. 250-goal seasons. Multiple times he's won awards. How do you not let this guy in the Hall of Fame?
Yeah, he's one of the best American-born players to make it. I mean, I feel he's more worthy of a Hall induction than Eric Lindros is, frankly.
With multiple teams.
Yeah, all over the place.
Phoenix. You want to talk about with the Flyers. You want to talk about Chicago, obviously. The Kings for a little while. Phoenix, San Jose. I mean, near the end of his career, obviously he tailed off a little bit. But in the same sense, the guy had 30-plus goal seasons. I mean, multiple times.
But it happens with all sports. There's always guys that get in, and it creates that conversation. I mean, you and I talked about this briefly. How the world, Alexander Mogilny is not in the Hall with a 76-goal season back in '93. He played for a long time. He won a cup with New Jersey in 2000. Again, to me, that's more of an accomplished career than Eric Lindros had. Dave Andreychuk played for a very long time. Won a Stanley Cup in 2004 with the Lightning. Those are just things that, like, again, I'm not bashing Eric Lindros. I know everybody wants to, the Rangers fans bashing Lindros. That's not what it is. That career, his production, to me, is not Hall of Fame numbers, whereas a Mark Recchi, a Flyer, Roenick, a Flyer, those are guys that I can absolutely make the case should be there over a guy like Eric Lindros.
Yep. I mean, you can get into a lot of different stats, and I'm going to pull up a guy right now. You're talking about Alexander Mogilny. Let's talk about Pavel Bure. He's in the Hall of Fame, 2012. Here's a guy, 702 games, 437 goals, 342 assists. Everything's to that effect. Pavel Bure is good goal scorer. I don't know if he's the elite of the elite, but I think I'd still put him in the Hall of Fame. I'm not saying he shouldn't be in the Hall of Fame, but I think you want to talk about numbers, comparable, right on the edge. I think Lindros is right there with Bure.
I have a unique perspective of Pavel Bure because, again, I am a Rangers fan. I do remember 1994, and every time that man touched the puck, he was absolutely electric. That the Russian Rocket moniker, he nailed it to a T. He did go around the league, play some time in Florida.
A lot of time in Vancouver, yeah.
By the time he ended up in New York, he was a shell of himself.
Yep.
I mean, he was always one of my favorite players growing up. And again, a pure goal scorer, and your case on Lindros being more of a complete player, I don't discount that. I think that's true. But I just think the numbers are what dictate sometimes, the accolades that you receive.
Your favorite player wasn't Theo Fleury, the alcoholic?
I didn't mind Theo Fleury, but his Rangers career. My favorite player was Adam Graves growing up. So, Adam Graves is not a Hall of Famer. I love Adam Graves, not a Hall of Famer. Just because you like somebody doesn't mean he should be in the Hall of Fame. Flyers fans who like Eric Lindros.
But he went to rehab. He was just trying to turn his own out.
Yeah, listen, that is what it is.
Okay, but that's the debate we have. I'm thinking Lindros should be in the Hall of Fame. Brian doesn't think he should be in the Hall of Fame, but you know what? He's in the Hall of Fame. Congratulations, Eric. 88.
Good for him.
Good for him. That's right. And just parents just stay out of the Hall of Fame. That's all the time we have for Sports Box. Keep an eye out for some new stuff coming. Appreciate you watching. And remember, the only opinion that matters. Brian?
right here.
It's right here. It's only here. Take care. See ya.
Don't forget to subscribe.